And it means that if we're not being creative, we're keeping an essence of God away from us. We're not cooperating with that, which I thought I said the same thing a minute ago, but you're so much clearer than I am.
Well, God don't make any mistakes, right?
I love teaching piano students. And, when we were stuck in the laws of, okay, here's the note, here's the meter, here's the way you got to do it.
That's a taste of unleashing your inner divine, part 2. This week's episode of The Wise Guys, a podcast that unleashes the unthinkable in culture, religion, and everyday life. In this conversation, the guys continue to dive into a deeper spirituality and challenge you to recognize and release your innate divine attributes. So, strap in, shatter the norm, and see if you are willing to let Mac, the Rev, and Coach Stu take you to a place of thinking differently.
All right. Welcome to The Wise Guys, a podcast where we unleash the unthinkable and shatter the norm to help us see things differently, go to the inside edge, and stimulate new thinking. Oh, that's a scary thought for a lot of folks right there. If you even have a thought. Oh, there was a little pun in there, wasn't there? Oh, thank you very much. Well, hi, I'm Mac, and I'm your host. And in this episode, this is a kind of a part 2. So I'll start off by saying, first of all, if you didn't listen to the previous episode, which was part 1, go back, listen to it, and then tell your friends to listen to it too. Okay, let's not forget about that. But we're gonna keep on this theme of a little bit of more deep spirituality, and it's part 2 of the unleashing the inner divine. And we know that each of us is a mixture of, maybe a little bit of complacent sort of commitments as well as complex consciousness. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Maybe you can rewind that 10 seconds back and come forward, okay? Just until you get that, right? But, it's going to be fun. We're going to pick up on that, and I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. But again, I got my guys, man. Of course I got my guys. All right, Stu.
The Wise Guys, Coach Stu here. Hey, Mac.
Coach is in the house, man.
Hey, Rev.
Hey.
I'm here with my full humanity and my full divinity tonight.
Whoa, that's a double full.
I'm going to jump in the car with you this time.
He's been
so let me see.
nice.
I've been on a train. I've been in a boat. Now we're in the car.
Well,
see where we go.
He's been supersized. Okay, guys, you guys can go the journey together. All right, so
we're going to do it. Hey, let me say hello to all of you beautiful exotic cocktails out there. Thanks for being here.
Yes, we thank you. We thank you for listening. It's a joy. It really is a joy to just be able to have this conversation and get some feedback and see how it's changing stuff out there, because I think we can all agree some stuff's got to change, gang. And I think it needs to start with each one of us. We're not pointing out there. We're certainly pointing
That's
right
exactly
back there.
where it starts.
That's
And
right.
I hope that as we're doing it and we're evolving and birthing ourselves, it is joyful. It's full of fun and laughter and smiles.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love that kind of stuff. So how about this one this week, guys? Word to the wise. Words to the wise. What do you think about this one? This resonates with me big time here, right? Okay. A radical is someone with both feet firmly planted in the air. That would be me.
It would be you.
Does that mean you're upside down?
Yeah, it would be. That probably happens more times than not, as a matter of fact.
You're one of my heroes who invites me to put my feet in the air and go sideways and go directions I never thought of. I appreciate that about you.
Yeah,
You know what?
yeah.
We'll tumble in it together, gang. That's what it's all about.
Firmly. I love how it's firmly planted in the air.
Hey, as much as I might be deceiving myself, even just thinking I am, but I don't care. Okay, so those were some good words to the wise this week, gentlemen.
I like it.
He is decidedly unpredictable.
True, very true. Well, here we are. So the whole topic, again, we're talking about sort of character, qualities, attributes of God, of the divine that we have. They're hardwired in us. It's not like you're going out there to find these things. And we just picked 8 of them. We did 4 of them last week. There's lots more, right? So we're not trying to make this sound like it's a definitive list by any means, because that means we got God figured out, right?
They could be dormant inactive,
Could
pushed down,
Forgotten.
forgotten, hidden behind something else, hidden behind that, cactus plant you have over there. You just got to go pull it out. It's there though.
So and telling me if I'm a little prickly, there might be something that's asking for expression.
I love it.
I just get the clippers out, man. Don't worry. Okay. But it's, here's the thing. I was thinking about this after last week's episode, and we were talking last week. The 4 qualities we talked about last week were life, love,
Wisdom,
And
intelligence.
Okay. And in some regards, especially the life and love one, that can get, it can kind of a little bit fluffy if you want to just kind of think about it that way, if that's the way it runs through your grid. But here's the thing. Guys, gals, I use the collective guys, but this takes, if you're going to do this, if you're going to take to heart what we're talking about, it's going to take courage. Okay. I mean, there's no mamby-pamby stuff about this at all, man. You got to dig in and you got to be bold. You've got to have the courage that it's going to take to do the work, to do the cultivating, and to also stand firm in your belief and know you're transforming. I mean, this is not an easy thing. I mean, we're not trying to paint it out like, rainbows and unicorns, right? No, it's not like that at all. So take it to heart, do the work, okay?
It'll be worth it.
Well, yeah, and it starts out with this idea that if we take it from the Bible, but you can weave in just about any other faith tradition, and there has to be a creation somewhere. Every faith tradition has their idea about how we got here and where we came from, right? So, in the Christian tradition, of course, very common, out of Genesis, God said, let us make humanity in our image, in our likeness. We've all heard that before, and we're gonna take that as the truth, okay?
Right.
We're driving a stake in the ground over that you have image and likeness. You have it. You don't need to go find it. You don't need to get it for something that you do or not
Man,
get
I'm
it.
going to always step over the line a little bit. You don't just have it.
Yeah.
You are it.
Okay, I'll go with that. Yeah, you're right. He'll correct me on that because it's a great perspective, and I like it.
It's just my perspective. It's different than other people's, but it's the one I put my stake in the ground in.
No, I appreciate that. We talk about that. I mean, talk about the being and the doing, right, all the time.
That's right. That's right.
So that was, that's a common one. And then you have this verse out of Genesis 5 when it said Adam had lived 130 years and he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. And so we just talked last week about how that brought it right home to each one of us. We birth likenesses to ourselves, whether you're a parent. I think it can still happen whether you're a physical parent of a child that, has a likeness, or just you come into contact with people, your friends, people you around you, you can still birth some of your likeness.
When we get together here for this podcast, we are birthing something.
Yeah.
It's going to sound a little weird, but the three of us are giving birth to a child here. It's an idea. And
We need to be on the news. Three men giving birth.
3 men and make a baby.
You're right, though. I mean, everyone is impacting somebody out there or people out there. Like me, as a coach, I know I'm impacting a lot of young athletes.
Right.
I know it.
So this happens.
So,
I mean, stuff's being birthed, and likeness and image is being passed around all the time. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to realize that we're going to proclaim these things as true. Well, again, you can ponder that a little bit. You can think about it. You can decide whether it's true for you or not, or whatever. That your choice. But we're coming from the place that it's true. For us, for sure. And we believe it's true for everybody, but I mean, you got to make up your own decision. But if you do believe they're true, you got to cultivate them. And it's a flow, right? You cultivate them and then they flow out of you. Right?
They flow out of you. You get to see the evidence of those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs out here. Your children are either misbehaving, showing you what you want to see, or not. We got to go back to the source. Mm-hmm. So as the kids are flowing from your mouth and from your experiences and expressions, you got to just look at the evidence. Do I like the flow or do I not like the flow?
And who has the power to change the flow?
Oh, comes back to me.
We do. Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
we do.
That's it. Okay, so, no more excuses, right? They don't work.
Can I blame God? Can I blame the devil? Can I blame you guys? Dang.
I think we're going to talk about it in an upcoming episode. I think it's going to call it throwing the card, right?
So another way to say this, I know we've been using the words image and likeness, because that's what we read out of the Bible passage, right?
Right.
Another way to say this these are characteristics of God,
Sure.
right? Of the Creator of God. And so we're talking about 8 of them. We talked 4 last week, right?
Right.
And then we're talking 4 more this week. Would it be okay if I say what the 4 are, and then we'll go to the first one? Would that be
Absolutely.
Let's do that, because
Okay.
so everybody knows what to expect.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
So the next 4 are going to be peace, creativity, beauty, and joy. So we're going to talk about peace first. All right. And the way I was kind of seeing this is I was trying to think what, in my mind, the opposite of peace might be. And it might be different for you and for you Rogers out there, but to me, it was the word that came to my mind was chaos.
Oh,
You know?
all right.
So, because there really isn't peace in chaos, but there could be. There is. I know. There is.
He's reading my mind.
Yeah, there is, though. If you've ever seen any movie, anytime when there's explosions going off all over the place, there's that one guy just walking, and nothing's affecting him.
yeah.
Nothing is touching him. He's peaceful in a state of chaos, which I believe we can be.
I want to be that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
In the midst of, right?
So I know we're going to talk about like how do we do this? How do we like manifest peace in our life, or maybe different kinds of peace, right? Like peace of mind. You've heard that
Right.
phrase, or like maybe spiritual peace. Like a piece of that goes beyond like your understanding, that kind of a thing. So
Right.
what do you guys think?
Well, I love that, what you just said, that peace that surpasses all understanding. When you see somebody who's got total control and composure and poise in the midst of that chaos, not even with bombs that are physical bombs, but just emotional bombs going off everywhere. It doesn't make sense to the human ego, because you cannot find that peace through the mind, through the ego. You've got to find it from a different part of yourself.
Well, yeah, and we will use the overarching belief and perspective that says everything's spiritual. I mean, there is a spiritual component to every single thing, because that's, we'll go on another thing about that, but God is in everything, right? So, it has to come, this greater than thing. It will not happen when your own power. I mean, it just won't. We're just not that. We ain't got it going for us enough, until we unleash that, which it is part of us. As Reva said, we are that.
I love that from the 12-step programs that talk about,
Yeah.
in of myself, I am powerless. If
Right.
I'm trying to do it all myself, I'm not going to get to the promised land. I've got to find something beyond me and my capacity and my knowledge and my wisdom. And that, you can call it God. I don't care what you call it. You got to seek it.
Right.
Something beyond your borders.
Right.
So when I thought about this, I was trying to come up with and think of some actionable ways that we could develop this or be this peace. So here's just a couple that I know that I do. One of them is being present, right? Staying right here in this moment, not thinking about the past, not going to the future, just trying to be present. Because if you think about going to the opposite ends, going to the past or heading to the future, that could really it could stress people out. You may not feel peace in that, but in the moment, I feel like there's peace there. So that's one way. Another way is like meditation. Prayer is another way to say it, right? Yeah. That's another way to do it. Like what I do in my wrestling practices for this is throughout the practice, I'll stop them and have them take 3 deep breaths. Right? Now, I'm not calling that meditation or prayer or anything like that, but it's
call
doing
it meditation.
But it's doing the same thing. Like it's centering them.
Yeah.
It's getting them to this state of peace. So when I thought about this, I got to tell a story about my daughter. This is really great, really funny. So when she was younger, first of all, she has me as a parent. and she has my wife, who's a therapist counselor, right? So when you live in our household, you learn things like meditation, like at a young age. So she must have been 3 or 4 years old, and we had taught her like how to deal with her emotions, right? The young kids are trying to figure this out. So we kind of taught her how to kind of meditate, breathe. So I would catch her when things would happen, like she would sit down, kind of cross her legs, and she would just kind of hold her hands in her lap, and she would just look up, close her eyes, and she would look out and she would say, "Talk to peace. Talk to peace." And you know what's the craziest thing? Like it would calm her down.
It worked.
So like when she was when there were things happening in her life, this is what she would do. And as a little like 3-year-old, like I was cracking up. I was like, this is the best. So I asked my wife, I'm like, did you come up with this? I'm like, I didn't come up with this. Mm-hmm. She kind of did it on her own. But imagine if you could do that, like just as an adult, like that's a young person who was doing that.
I think sometimes
I know some adults in my life that don't know how to talk to peace. They don't know the language. They don't know the energy.
Right.
So,
well, this is very elusive a lot of times because we're our own. What is it? We confronted the enemy, and he is us. It's
true.
I love what you talked about yesterday or tomorrow. God doesn't live in both those places. The only place that God exists and God as peace is in the now moment.
Right.
99% of all suffering is because somebody's living in the future or what happened in the past. And so that you have to cultivate that moment-to-moment breath. And that's what the breath does. The breath reminds the mind and the heart, I'm in a place of peace. I'm in a place of stillness. And I'm existing right here, right now. That's when you find God.
Well, this peace thing, and the world needs it. We need it. It has to start within us. There's no doubt about that. And one of the litmus tests that I use as well when it comes to peace for me is I kind of use a measuring stick that says, how content am I?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a passive word by any means. It's just, am I good?
Right.
Am I good?
Is it possible to have peace and not be content? I've been as a human going, I'm feeling a little unrest. I don't feel contentment, but I could drop down into a different part of me that does have that, I guess, contentment or peace or connection or whatever you might call it is kind of beyond words. I think it is possible to be feeling humanly the unrest and spiritually go to the place where you might be hanging on a cross and you might be saying, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing.
Well, we're so nuanced. There's all kinds of different flavors and without a doubt, I think it's a beautiful picture that says we're all the above.
And what's wonderful is you get to find your way.
Right. There you go.
Each of us gets to find our own way.
Right. It's unique. Because we're all beautiful, exotic cocktails.
I want to do Sage's Way.
Sage's Way is the best.
Talk to peace.
Talk to peace. I love that. Yeah.
Well, we've already spoken to the whole Bible verse of it being, hearts and minds and greater than. So that comes out of Philippians 4. If you're a Christian or it's out of the Bible. We just wanted to tie it back in just as Paul in this case is talking about going beyond, right?
Right.
Guarding your heart and your mind through the spiritual practice.
Right.
Because again, if you're trying to do it like the Rev said, by yourself, it just ain't going to happen, guys. So, but at the same time, in order to do this all kind of stuff, we got to get creative with how we approach it.
Absolutely creative. Back to that scripture, created in the image and after the likeness of God. God is creation itself. God is the creator. We use these words to describe him. And if we're created in that image, that means we were born to be creative. And we stifle God. Somebody puts walls up and boundaries and says, this is what you can do and what you can't do. And it starts at a very young age. Thank God Sage didn't have that. Go explore, go adventure, go explore the inner world and the outer world and create something.
Yeah.
And it may be odd, it may be weird to the rest of the world, but go do it because that's cooperating with the way you were created as creativity itself.
Yeah. So do you have enough confidence? Do you have enough confidence in yourself to be able to say, that's me, and I'm not, the trees aren't green to me, they're red, okay? And I'm drawing a red tree, damn it, because that's what I see.
So wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
God is creative, right?
Absolutely.
The creator is creative.
Mm-hmm. Look at the planet.
And we are made in the image and likeness of God. So what does that mean? That means we are creative.
And it means that if we're not being creative, we're keeping an essence of God away from us. We're not cooperating with that, which I thought I said the same thing a minute ago, but you're so much clearer than I am.
any mistakes. Right?
I
mean,
love
hello.
teaching piano students. And, when we were stuck in the laws of, okay, here's the note, here's the meter, here's the way you got to do it. And there would be no joy on their face. And I would say, put the music aside. Let's improvise a little bit. Let's just bang on the piano. Now let's make that bang sound a little bit better. And it was messy and it was sloppy, but it was creative.
And it was fun.
Every single time that kid would smile. And it's like, wow, I'm making music. Yeah. And I'm working with the good, the bad, and the ugly as I do that to get to the creation at the end, the piece of music. So when you teach kids to compose, and I started at age 3 and 4 doing this,
wow,
they find a peace and a joy and a God essence in the creativity because that's what they were designed to do.
It's natural.
And the same thing happens with paint. I miss finger painting. I love finger painting. When did I stop doing that because somebody said you're not good at it or that picture isn't good enough?
Yeah, there's tons
I
of
want the
examples.
Rogers out there to know somebody told you at some point you couldn't sing, you couldn't do music, you couldn't paint, you couldn't write. I'm saying put them out of your head. Banish them from the kingdom of your consciousness and go create and do something.
And trust it. You got to trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we would suggest that happens is that, again, bringing the spiritual dynamic that gives you a peace, that gives you a confidence in yourself and in the greater than, that you can be bold enough to kind of do these kinds of things and look at what's going to happen, man. I mean, we talk about it all the time, right? Go to the inside edge.
Boldly create what no man or woman has ever created before.
Let's unleash a little bit of unthinkable with creativity. You've been talking about it, Rev, music, and you mentioned art and thinking, like writing books. I mean, there's a lot of creativity out there, right? But there's also creativity in relationships.
You bet.
I know
sure.
I know it for a fact.
Absolutely.
As a coach.
Sure.
I have to be very creative to connect with some of the kids that I'm coaching. And this, Rev, too, as being a minister at a church, connecting with all different people, and there are no two people are the same, right?
Yep. They're all beautiful, exotic cocktails with something unique to bring to the planet.
So there's creativity in your relationships as well.
In the midst of everything.
I lead a new thought church is what we call ourselves. And somebody said at one point, I think I might have repeated it, we call ourselves New Thought, but some of us haven't had a new thought in 10 years. So is it possible that creativity could be a new thought? Just entertaining a new idea that you never thought.
Yeah.
A new
Absolutely.
feeling. Let me just
sure.
try it on for size like a new pair of shoes.
Well,
Yep.
we're going to go to a little bit of a break right now, so be thinking about what you could create. Don't go blowing up the kitchen or starting the house on fire or anything, okay? But begin to start to think a little bit outside your box toward that inside edge that we talk about all the time. And we'll be back after a few. Just hang on a sec.
Like what you hear so far? Join us in the Rogue Nation by going to our website, gorogue.life, where you will find links to our social media and podcast channels and a way to subscribe to all our happenings. We encourage you to become a member of our cafe, where you can interact with us and fellow Rogers and keep the conversation going. Please share us and like us. Now, let's get back to our Wise Guys.
All right. Welcome back to the Wise Guys podcast, where this episode we are talking about our inner divinity. And if we're created in God's image, in his likeness, he or she in the Creator's image, then we have the same characteristics and qualities and abilities and everything else that the Creator who created us does. So this is a beautiful concept if you think about it, and don't dismiss it too easily. So we're going to talk about the next one. We're going to lead into beauty. But before I do that, I did want to do a little bit of a plug just to kind of let you guys out there know, maybe what's coming up. These are some things that are on our planning board, some episodes. You can kind of tweak you a little bit here.
Juicy topics.
Yeah, juicy topics. So how about, we're certainly going to talk about at some point here in the near future, the Bible. And, we're not going to do a Bible study, but, we're going to give some framing around, that beautiful book and how, there are different ways to look at it. How about just throwing the card? We talked about this a little earlier, but whether it's in religion or faith or just human interaction, there are many times when we just want to, quote, throw the card to think it's going to end the conversation and we can move on. okay, because it just diminishes and quiets down and gives you the answer. And we do it all the time, and it's going to be interesting when we talk through that. How about a little bit of practical mysticism? We've talked about being a mystic. We've talked about a lot of the other different kinds of things, but a lot of times people just think that's out there. Oh my gosh, it's the guru on top of the mountain kind of mysticism. It's a beautiful thing, and it's very practical, and it can be practical. So we'll share some of those thoughts. And then coming up here, just talked to a super interesting guy this last week. He just wrote a new book, and we chatted a little bit about him and his philosophy and kind of the way he looks at God and faith and religion. And we really had a great conversation. I think you guys are going to love hearing from him and his perspective. So these are just some of the things that are coming. I'll tweak you a little bit, kind of interest you. So stay in there, keep listening.
I love it. Looking forward to all of those.
Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just all
so another characteristic of God is beauty. And this one seems kind of obvious, doesn't it? Like, there's so much beauty around us. I mean, in nature, especially people. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of beautiful. Everyone's beautiful in my mind in the world, but there's
everyone is beautiful.
I knew there'd be a song in there somewhere.
Ray Stevens? Who was going to say that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, there is beauty in everything, and some of the things I was thinking of when I thought about something I might say, that was beautiful, is like the giggle or laugh of like a little baby.
Yeah.
Isn't that the best? Like that's a beautiful thing to me. Like I'm an animal person. The wag of a dog's tail, or when that dog just cannot get enough of you when you come home. I mean, that is the best. That is a beautiful. It's a beauty. And here's the thing. Like a lot of times when you think of beauty, you think of what you're visually seeing, but I think there's beauty in feelings too, in what you're feeling.
Well, that's a great perspective. I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's beauty in consciousness. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And you have to be a beholder who's looking for it. You have to seek beauty. And I always say people who are looking for ugliness will find it. And people who are looking for beauty will also find that. So it starts internally.
Right.
I'm looking for what's good and holy and sacred in this world and in the person in front of me.
Well, that changes everything. This is a bias. This is a worldview that we're talking about now. That is, we begin to adopt. You can stick whatever word you in there, goodness, or when you're looking, or your eyes just naturally gravitate to the beautiful and the good. And again, it's not because this is what we've been told beauty looks like. It's what resonates deeply in our heart at the very core. Like Stu was saying, it's relationships, it's feelings, it's all the above. The minute you try to compartmentalize it, that's beautiful, but that's ugly. Can I use that word or not? Then we've already messed up.
Well, 9 times out of 10, the beautiful people over here, the ugly people over there. Somebody told us this is a generational handing it down. These are the good people. These are the bad people. And we just inherited, took it on as our own. And I'm just saying, just try it on for size. Not just your seeing, but your hearing. Listen for something beautiful. Listen for the evidence that there's good behind what's being spoken in front of you in that moment, in the relationship.
Sure.
Close your eyes, close your ears, and listen carefully. The beauty in you that you haven't discovered yet. It's everywhere.
Well, that's a realization right there. That's super important.
Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and
your
see
beauty.
see your beauty.
Even if you're having a bad hair day, man.
How many of us get up in the morning, instead of saying good morning, God, say, good God, it's morning. We look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I'm every bit of those years.
Yeah, I've been known to do that a time or two. But we can find it, as Stu is saying, in all sorts of different places. But we use this terminology and have used it for years. Get your antennas up. Get your awareness level, right? Take the blinders and get them off so that you're not just so, focused on the normal, the everyday, the stuff that you repeat over and over and over again. You need to open up and you need to be conscious because, boy, I'll tell you, when we started, all of us, all three of us, and we're not, again, we never say we've arrived. But, I know how my life turned around as I begin to take this on more and more and more. That stuff and people and experiences and aha moments and beauty and this. I mean, it just you can't even plan it. You can't plan that stuff. I mean, you just can't do it. But it's so great because now I'm experiencing what I think God has created us for. You know, why we're even here. I don't know. It just, there's my contentment.
Hey, Mac,
Well, you know,
it's a beautiful thing, guys. It's a beautiful thing.
So is my ability to see it is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing, beautiful thing. Does the peace come from the consciousness to seek the beauty? As I seek the good, the holy, the
cow.
sacred, the good, and the beauty, I have more peace.
Wow. So
you're
Rev, bringing
saying-
it all together.
Yeah, that's right. He's saying it's all connected.
And then when I'm more peaceful, I can be more creative.
Oh, boy.
That's probably true.
Are you guys watching a video out there? He's bouncing around in his chair over here. Okay, this is great.
I have joy.
Joy, joy, joy in my heart. I think there's a song like that too in church. No, please let's not do that. But you know, the thing is, it's a great point to bring up because we talked about it last week. That these things don't exist in a linear fashion.
They're not
It's
isolated.
it's impossible. All right, that as you experience one, as you cultivate one, as you learn about one, as you incorporate one, it affects the others, and so they all start happening all at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, golly, you're going to step back from it and you're going to go, what do we always say? Strap in, man.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the beauty there. So, you know, we can find it. And here's what I love about beauty too. If you look at a flower, is it beautiful? Here's a koan, right? Is it beautiful if nobody observes it?
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to say yes, because God created, in my mind, God created the flower, and what
Okay.
God creates is beautiful.
It's all beautiful.
Everything
That goes back to the question we asked at the last episode. A gift doesn't have to be received. No, it does not. It just
there
has
you
to
go.
be given, and there it is.
All right.
Yeah.
So the consensus here seems to be, regardless of whether you're looking at it or not, or anybody's looking at it, it's still made in the image and likeness of God, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
That
So-
includes you, people.
Well, yeah, I guess I want to get that out there to anybody who's listening today. You may have been discounted by the world that does not see you. Maybe walks by you and doesn't even notice how amazing you are. It does not have any power over you when you know the truth that you are worthy, valuable, respected, and important and beautiful.
Yes.
That is such an important point, Rev. And you know what? You
No doubt.
can see you. And when you see you, others will be able to see you. Does that make sense?
It will emanate.
That-
Total
It'll
sense.
emanate. I mean, it's part of it. Yes, that's a beautiful statement. I love that. We'd say that when you see you,
Yeah.
other
Others.
people can see you.
Yeah.
Is that what I heard? Oh,
Yeah.
I like it. There might be
It could be a meme.
And up until that point, all anybody's seeing is the manufactured version of what you think they can handle.
Yeah.
I'm only showing the world what I think is beautiful about me. And if I don't think I'm beautiful, they're getting nothing. So they're really getting a false image of who I am because I haven't seen the image of who I truly am inside. Now, that gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
The more I see myself as beautiful, the more beautiful I will be to others. The more I know it for myself without their validation, the more I'll be validated.
I love this. And just know, people out there, you are a child of God who is beautifully and wonderfully made.
I think that's in the Bible too.
Yep.
It is.
Very cool. Well, you know, another thing that came up to me in this section, if you will, this characteristic called beauty. We've talked about this in the past, but I don't want to get past this without talking about, as we're talking about ourselves, as we're talking about looking in a mirror. You know, a lot of us will look in the mirror, and what we will see is we will not see the beauty. We will see the dragon. Okay, and every single one of us has a dragon. All right, and I think I've told my story on this, several times, maybe not on the podcast much, but when I had to confront for real my dragon and learn to love the dragon, that dragon. Let's put it this way: that is a very beautiful dragon. Okay, because it's part of you and it's part of what God made. You may have some work to do on it. You may have some things you need to massage on it. But the bottom line is, the minute that's ugly, now we have created dualism inside of ourselves, and that's never anywhere God wants to take us.
So what you just had me realize, Mac, and thank you for helping me to realize this. God doesn't do anything by accident. Everything's on purpose, which means you are exactly the way you're supposed to be and who you are.
So I'm going to throw over to the movie guy over there.
Yeah,
One of my favorite movies, and I just cry every time I've seen it, is The Elephant Man.
Oh, yeah.
By the world's definitions, was ugly and grotesque,
Right.
and was one of the most beautiful souls on the planet.
Right.
So again, it's somebody else's definition of what physical beauty is, of what spiritual beauty is, or what artistic beauty is. It's all beautiful. Can we get to the point where we have the eyes, the ears, the heart, and the soul to go, God's kingdom is beautiful.
Yeah, it's
period.
just beautiful.
Even the ugly parts, and that's going to confront a little bit within me, because I see ugliness in the world that I don't like. Can I seek beneath the surface and find some kind of good to nurture and to tend that garden, even when it's ugly on the outside?
Yeah, you just have to choose to look for it.
It's a tough perspective
Right.
sometimes.
I
Man.
mean,
Yeah.
it can be that simple.
Right.
You just have to choose to look for it.
Well, something that came to my mind as Stu was talking about the God that. Here's a statement that I heard years and years ago, but I haven't heard it in a long time, and that says, "Did it ever occur to you? Did it ever occur to you that nothing's ever occurred to God?"
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay. I think I'll make a Coach Stu. I don't know. Let me think about it. Oh, good idea. So anyway. Beauty. We've talked about peace. We've talked about creativity. We've talked about beauty. And of course, we can't leave out another just incredibly beautiful characteristic and attribute of God, and that's joy. Right?
Teilhard de Chardin, forgive my pronunciation, said that joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. And so when God is present and I'm connected and I'm united and anchored in that place, I am naturally joyful. And so when I'm joyful, there's the awareness that I am consciously aware of my connection to the universe, to the cosmos. And when I'm not joyful, God's missing. God's missing from my consciousness, not from my life, because God's always there. But this idea of dancing through life, of singing through life, it is possible. And I know this firsthand because I grew up in an environment where, it was easy to find the negative, easy to find the ugly, easy to call out what wasn't working. And when I began to have a switch because somebody knocked me upside the head and said, "Why don't you look for something good, even if it's small?" I began to be a lot happier human being.
Well, yeah.
And what I recognize,
it can be elusive.
The difference between happiness and joy, two very different things. Happiness is all circumstantial. It's all about, I'm happy because things are working out here. Joy is relational. I know who I am.
That's a great point right
I know
there.
where I'm going. I know what I'm about. I know what I'm connected to. So it could be ugly out here, but I see beauty only because I'm connected to something. I'm relating to the presence of the Spirit, which is underneath all of it.
Well, and don't go to this place. Don't go to this place that think that that's like rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna kind of way to look at stuff. Okay? It's not. It's way harder to grasp that and believe it and take it in as the truth than it is to just go, oh, well, that's, that sounds good. But
and it doesn't happen overnight. Let me tell you, it is the hardest course I've ever taken in seminary, in college, in life, is learn
the joy course?
The joy course it's a marathon. It's not a 50-yard dash. Well, suddenly I'm joyful. I changed my mind. No. Yeah. It's doing one thought, one idea, one action, doing something differently, being creative, finding the peace over and over and
it's the
over
cultivation.
again. You cultivate it.
Yes, you got to do the what? Stu? You got to do the work.
Do the work. You got to practice.
Is Coach.
Got to practice.
This is Coach Stu.
Coach is talking. You got to practice.
Yeah.
The joy to me is, it's an energy, right? So in our pre-show chat, I asked the Rev and Mac. I said, "Don't you want to be that guy when you walk in the room? Like everybody feels awesome. It feels great, and they're like." And they don't even know why, but it's just you enter the room and you're just exuding joy. I mean, how cool would it be to just be that person all the time?
It's contagious. We talked about this last week in the episode that somebody who comes into the room without saying anything, doesn't do anything, but the joy quotient goes up.
It goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, something's different. It feels good. So you're infecting people. Joy is contagious.
Yes. And
Now,
it's
we
not
got
imagined. It's real.
And we have to acknowledge just for a quick second that you could do the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
right? Just to be aware of it, you know? You
Yeah,
could be
right.
the opposite.
You could be the
bring it
Debbie
all
Downer.
down. You
Yeah.
could bring it all down. But, you know, we're talking about joy. And you know what? To me, talking about all these characteristics, joy is like the anchor. Like all of these equate to joy, right? Like we talked about life and love and wisdom, intelligence, peace, creativity, like beauty, like all of those lead to joy to me, like for me. So to me, joy is like the anchor of these characteristics.
Well, I think it's the evidence as well.
You ever gone to bed at night and you just have a smile on your face? You just catch yourself. You're thinking, it's like, I'm smiling as I go to bed. It's because I lived all these things, all these pistons that we talked about, these divine ideas are connected. I was firing on all cylinders today, and I'm going to bed full of joy.
That's when I get in trouble from my wife.
That's exactly.
Is that what you're gonna say?
What kind of smile is that?
Yeah, like what are you thinking about right now?
What are you up to?
What's going on over there?
We were right on the same page with that, man. Here he is. So this has been so cool. I mean, again, 8, we used 8. It could be 80. All right. I mean,
Right.
we're not going to limit the is, all right, by any means with trying to describe finitely.
Right? Go to the website and tell us what it is for you. We want to know.
We'd love to hear. Just go ahead, put some comments out there. Do it on our website. Do it in Facebook for our webpage or our Facebook page. But the big thing is we're wrapping this whole thing up. You know, the first thing you got to do is you got to realize, and then you got to reproduce these things within yourself. You know, it makes a difference not only to you but to the others and to the world. It will expand your consciousness and free a sacredness within you. I mean, we are sacred. We have a deep-seated sacredness created by the Creator. It's beautiful. We just got to let more of it out. It'll enhance your spiritual poise. And I say that, it's kind of a nebulous kind of term, but you know when somebody has poise, you know when somebody has spiritual poise. I mean, we were just talking about it. They walk into the room kind of thing, right? You just know it. You want to sit at their feet. You're willing to listen. They emanate. It's beautiful. You want to be one of those kind of people?
Be the kind of person you want to hang out with.
That's it. Okay. And, you know, give others an example to follow. That's what Jesus did. He said, come follow me and emulate me. You know, we can do the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
Right, guys?
That's important because as I always say, people are always watching.
That's right. They're always
So
watching.
give them a good example while they're watching.
So,
Be the joy.
yeah, be the joy.
There it is.
Uh-oh, here we go. I always feel like I'm way up high in the air when I hear this. I feel like I'm like on some mountain or
That could
walking
be
a
it.
tightrope
If that's your mission,
on the wing of a plane.
if that's your mission, man, go on it. So decide to go rogue. This is your mission. Find like-mindeds. Yeah, again, everything we've been talking about here, they're out there because they're created just like you were created. Then you got to strap on the armor, that belief that you are these things. It grounds you. It keeps you solid when there are things that want to go against it. Then you got to kind of storm the gates, first in your own mind, the thinking, the stinking thinking that you have about a lot of this stuff, about the world, about your biases, all that stuff. You got to storm that gate and be willing to knock it down. And then what you get to do once that happens, you get to what?
Unleash the unthinkable.
Unleash the unthinkable. Because a lot of this stuff might be unthinkable for you, but don't let it be. All right? Share it with others. Internalize it. Take it to heart. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to change your life. It certainly has. I know for us, I love to see these examples that the guys have given us tonight, and we hope you've benefited by it as well.
If you spot it, you got it. So you got it, my friend, and every roger has it.
There we go.
So true.
There it is. So, guys, thank you
So
tonight.
true.
It's always great, man. It's just always great being here with you guys, and the wisdom, the wise guy wisdom that comes out. It's just so cool. So, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us. Tell all your friends about us. Tune in next week, and we'll have another unthinkable conversation. Take care.
Wow, you made it and can now unbuckle. Thanks for listening to Unleashing Your Inner Divine, Part 2. A conversation that proclaimed the truth that you are created in the image of God. Consequently, you are endowed with divine attributes of life, love, creativity, intelligence, peace, beauty, and joy. Remember to visit the website at gorogue.life for lots of follow-up information. See the show notes for any links to episode content, and check out the Seeing Differently blog. Oh, and of course, tell everyone you know about us and like, follow, and engage. Be sure to tune in next week when Mac unleashes another unthinkable conversation. That is, if you dare.